Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I know this isn't really X-related, but I didn't know where else to post this. I work in an older office building probably built in the 50s or 60s or something in a mid-sized American city. I don't want to give much info because I'd probably be fired if anyone found out I posted this, and despite what everyone thinks about being a wagey, it still beats being a bum. So the building I'm in has 3 levels of sub-basements that no one knows about. I first found out about this right after I started working here in 2018 and noticed the back elevator had spots on the button panel where buttons had clearly been removed, and brought it up to the office manager casually while we were writing it, only for her to tell me those were for the floors no longer in use. When I asked more about it, she wouldn't give me any details besides saying it was none of anyone's concern because those floors were only used by the previous owner of the building. I finally tracked down the actual entrance to the subfloors and found it was a single stairwell. The building is a large complex, so it seems bizarre that a basement would only be accessible by one stairwell for safety reason, but maybe other maintenance anons will tell me whether this is normal. I started asking more guys about the subfloors and no one knew anything about them. Security, maintenance, none of them had keys to the stairwell or had been down. The fire map of the whole building didn't have floor plans for those levels, and I found the yearly report from the city code inspector on a shelf at the security desk one time, and it didn't even mention them despite listing every other room in the building with notes about which ones had code violations. I'd been occasionally trying the stairwell for the past few years when I went by it to see if it was ever unlocked, and today I found it was. Down in the sub-basement, I spent 15 minutes passing hallways filled with locked doors, but the reason I'm making this thread is because of these sections of the halls where the wall was partially removed, exposing rooms accessible only on the lower floor in a way so the hallway was turned into a balcony. I took a picture with the camera's flash on so you can see what the rooms looked like. From the floor to the ceiling was at least 30 feet, and there were at least 8 of these openings in the wall I passed leading to these kinds of rooms. When I made it down to the second sublevel, I found the doors to these rooms. The doors were only 5 feet high, so you had to crouch to get through them, and they were only locked on the inside. Like there was a key you could put in the doorknob from the outside, but inside the room the doorknob didn't have the keyhole, and I tried twisting the knob inside and it was clearly locked, so if I had accidentally closed the door while inside there I would have been trapped. The design seemed so bizarre, and at first I thought they might have been generator rooms or something, but knowing what I know about electricity, that wouldn't make sense. I finally started Googling the building name and found out this used to be the Regional Administrative Office for a government health agency. Think Food Drug Administration or Department of Health and Human Services. I won't say which one since, like I said, I don't want anons figuring out and calling the front desk, but there were several dozen agencies like those two, either less well-known or subsidiaries of those larger ones, or state-run or defunct versions, so I know it won't be too easy to find out the location, but just know it's one of those. So I found some academic journal PDFs through Googling the building name and found out the nearest big university did clinical trials in the 70s as part of a joint government project. I guess this study was one of the first of its kind ever done, and they had clinical trials where patients were observed for at least 6 months while they studied the effects of the drugs. Still, I can't find much about this besides it being cited in other studies and mentioning it occurred in the building. The weird thing is this was not a medical building or a research lab. This was an administrative building for the agency, so it makes no sense why it's being listed as where the clinical trials occurred, since the nearby university which partnered for this study had their own hospital connected to the school. I'm honestly just perplexed at what these rooms are supposed to be and was wondering if any anons could tell me. Like I said, this isn't an X thing. I didn't run into any ghosts, even though walking around this place creeped me the hell out for reasons I can't explain. I just thought maybe someone here might know what's up with the rooms, or if there was some kind of architectural or structural purpose or reason for them, since it's probably not related to the medical study the government did here. That was just the only thing I could find online mentioning the building that wasn't like some property value site listing for it. I really wish I had more time to explore down there or take more pictures, but I only had a half-hour lunch break, and when I got a chance to head back the door was locked again. So if anyone can provide any insight, please do. Thread from Opus over. Opus here again. I do want to add quickly that I posted about this on some other paranormal forums, and had someone PM me on a different forum linking this Google Map clone website that will draw a straight line between any 2 points you put in, and then asked me to find the nearest military base in my area and the largest cave system nearby and put the info into the map to see if the line intersected with the building I was in. Surprisingly, it does, so I don't know if this backs up that theory one anon had that this was an earthquake shelter or Cold War era bomb shelter or something, but also just a weird thing to add. All of the elevators in the building are pretty old and seem like the original ones from construction, but maybe the elevators were moved or something and these are the original elevator shafts. From the pictures of the room you can see part of the ceiling and it looks like there are light fixtures, but I want to clarify because someone asked on the other side I posted this on. Since I saw from different angles I can say that those were ventilation shafts and there isn't really any other lighting for the rooms.
False floor anons. Where there's one there's more. Tap the walls, tap the floors, check the odd vent if you have to. Look through old desks. Those tend to leave the most information behind. Old trash cans are a goldmine. If you hear rumbling in the walls, leave immediately and try again later. However, it might already be too late by then. Perhaps it is best to just leave and call it a night.
Not entirely related, but somewhat. I keep hearing this rumor that there are underground facilities beneath all the Westfield malls across America, with another rumor indicating they are facilities/bunkers for the elite to hide out in during a crisis event. When I was a late teen, always at our local mall with my hooligan friends, 2003, yeah, I'm an ancient friend. One time a friend who had worked at the mall for years said there's a secret hidden area in the mall he could show us, so he takes us to the upstairs outdoor food court, in which we then follow him to the emergency exit, which was a long set of stairs descending down. Not just down, they eventually went below ground level and for about 2 or 3 flights. At that point, there is basically a gate of railing with a locked door, to proceed down another flight of stairs. Such piss poor design because we all easily just climbed over the railing and proceeded further down. This is where it gets nuts. There was a metal door at the very bottom of all this, and behind that door was a long-ass concrete tunnel. Completely empty with a, desolate feel to it, and for how new/professional the concrete seemed, it was definitely not there before the mall. Anyhow, at the very end of this crazy gigantic-ass tunnel was a door. Not just any door, imagine OP's pick, but without the window and without a knob. Or any way of actually opening the door, at least it seemed that way. The stranger part was there was not a single camera in the entire tunnel, nor anywhere in sight as we descended the stairs. Whenever we got drunk and or stoned at the mall and bored, we would sneak down there every time. Even going as far as drinking and smoking down there as well a couple times for at times up to an hour or more. Anyhow, my friend said he has no idea what the tunnel was for, or the door. He just heard about it and went for it. It was always fun, but also spooky.
A subterranean highway in America is like a freeway except it's underground. That highway depends on electric motors for the paved roads, and it is for limited travel. There is another style of transit for freight and for passengers that is for rapid travel. That worldwide network is called the subglobal system. It has checkpoints at each country entry. There are shuttle tubes that shoot the trains at incredible speeds using a maglev and vacuum method. They travel at a speed that exceeds the speed of sound. Part of your question involves the location of entrances to that base. The easiest way to answer is to say every state in the USA has them. Frequently, the entrances are camouflaged as sand quarries or mining operations. Other complex portals are found on military bases. New Mexico and Arizona have the largest amounts of entrances, followed by California, Montana, Idaho, Colorado, Pennsylvania, Kansas, Arkansas, and Missouri. Of all the states, Florida and North Dakota have the least amount of entrances. Wyoming has a road that opens directly into the subterranean freeway. That road is no longer in use, but could be reactivated if they decide to do so with minimal cost. It's located near Brooks Lake.
I have heard of and seen reptoid beings in the area 5 miles east of Phoenix, Arizona. The Superstition Mountains have been an area of encounters and is said to have both an alien base and laboratories under it. The military also have an underground base there and interact on experiments with the aliens. About 20 years ago, I encountered an individual that spent time exploring some of the old mines in the area. He had vanished for months before I ran into him again. I asked him where he had been all this time. Here is his story. He spotted a mine entrance on the west side of the main mountain side. He said that the mine looked to be in good shape, so he started walking in the shaft. He had gone about a half mile and when he saw a sign that said no entrance beyond this point. The mine shaft was still in good shape, so he went 100 yards. He told me that people seemed to come out of the walls of the shaft. Men in black uniforms questioned him and then took him to a holding area in Mesa, Arizona for 72 hours. They questioned him again and found out that his home was in Colorado. They gave him a plane ticket to Denver, Colorado, and told him never to come back to the Phoenix area. He asked me not to tell anyone that I had seen him. He wanted to pick up personal items that got left behind. I have never seen him after that. There are other stories of treasure hunters going into old mine shafts and finding holographic walls in the shaft. They did not try to enter the area behind the wall as they feared that they may not be able to get back out. They told me that they took a round rock and rolled it through the screen and heard it roll for some distance. One of them reached through the screen with a flashlight in his hand. He turned the flashlight back toward the screen, but could not see any light. He said that he withdrew his arm as he had the feeling that something was back there and he didn't want it to grab his arm and drag him in. I asked the men to take me up there and show me the mine. They all said no way they were going back in there. We got a topo map out and they showed me the area that they had encountered the wall. I did go into the area to search but was never able to find the mine. This is not strange as other people have found an opening and marked the entrance with a pyramid of large rocks and left to get lights and more people and equipment. When they got back, the rocks were still there as they had stacked them, but the entrance was gone. There have been sightings of reptoids about 9 feet tall in that area. As soon as they sense that they are being watched, they vanish. People have also seen lizard beings about the size of a man with bat-like wings and a tail. They fly out to open in the cliffs at twilight and also vanish if they are being watched. The Native Americans have seen these things for hundreds of years and have legends about them. They say that they are shapeshifters and can make you see them in any form they want. I found this out on a personal encounter with a reptoid I encountered on a trail. As I was walking up an inner trail in the mountains, I looked up and saw a man coming towards me on the trail. He had appeared out of thin air. As I walked toward him, I noticed his eyes. They were reptoid, vertical slits. When he sensed that I knew what he was, he hit me with a psychic blow that I can only describe as being hit in the head with a sledgehammer. It stunned me and almost drove me to my knees. As I shook this off, I looked up and he was gone. I had a headache for 2 days after that and thought that he could have killed me if he wanted to. These are just some of the strange things that have been seen up there. We have seen different types of alien craft that appear to enter the main mountain. Ghost orbs and UFO orbs that have been seen in different areas for hundreds of years disappear at different old mines, wells, and some just enter the face of the mountains. I would love to get in touch with a well-equipped investigative group and have them check out some of the strong magnetic fields that may act as dimensional portholes where some of these creatures come and go. One day our government may tell us the truth on their involvement with alien encounters and tech that has been traded for their abduction of us.
I was calling about the Carthage Underground. That Carthage Underground, I haven't been in there since 1996. We used to be able to drive in there and it was a huge cave. It's a man-made cave, it's not a natural cave. They've used it for offices, for storing food. It's really cool there. I don't know what it is now, but all locked up and secure now, so you can't get in there. Anyway, in 1996, I drove through there and it does have a little bit of a creep factor to it, but one time I stopped by the Walmart in Carthage and I walked over there. I was in line and I got a couple of items. Somebody behind me had stuff up on the counter and I just looked at it and I thought, oh, they must be going camping because it looked like stuff you would use for camping. But I noticed this tremendous odor and I thought, what in the world is that odor? I can't even describe it, it was so bad. And I turned around and I looked at the man behind me and he was really tall, wearing dark clothes, had dark hair but his eyes were slit. I got the biggest creep factor. I just thought he was pure evil. At the time, I didn't associate it with aliens or UFOs or anything like that, but at the time I thought it was a demon because I was so creeped out. That was around the same time that I had been over in that cave.
There is a small opening to the underground tunnels off Parliament Street in downtown Toronto. The entrance is between 2 apartment buildings and leads to the tunnels via the sewers. The underground city beneath Toronto has its center beneath Gerrard Street and Church Street. Above this area, strange magnetic effects have been observed. This corner of Gerrard and Church Streets has a higher accident rate than anywhere else in Toronto. It is believed that underground equipment utilizing powerful magnetic fields which have caused many strange magnetic effects in houses near this intersection are responsible for the bizarre equipment failures that often are the cause of these accidents. The Indians near Toronto have legends of these tunnels.
This past Sunday, the 7th, a friend and I were riding 2 ATVs in a place called the Underground. It is a public and private storage facility in Carthage, Missouri. What makes this place such a desirable storage facility is that it is all underground, hence the name. They are constantly expanding this place and there are miles and miles of carved-out caves in there and it goes pretty deep. This facility stores thousands and thousands of food containers, all dehydrated for the Navy. I have seen them and it is public knowledge around here. It is also a fallout shelter able to hold some 40,000 to 50,000 people. I tell you this to give some sense of the vastness of the place. I worked there as a subcontractor some 9 years ago. I helped build the office spaces up on top. I started to explore then. About once a month and did so all the way until this past Sunday. However, I never went as far or as deep before either. It was fun to take the ATVs and cruise underground, no rain or weather problems, ever. We were approximately 8 miles in and I'd say maybe 500 feet deep when we took a turn down an area that was marked Naval Authoritative Zone. I remember making a comment about the Navy getting a ship down there and said that was an easy posting. The walls became more defined, as in polished or finished, and this was striking because this was supposed to be a newly blasted area. Totally backward, I would think. Still thinking nothing was wrong, we kept going, actually increasing speed because the floor was paved now and we could go faster. We came up with an unusual painted pattern on the floor and I thought, cool graffiti, kids have been down here, we're safe, won't get into any trouble. The road dipped down and then it took a 90 turn to the left. We had no warning and we were going too fast. I knew we were going to hit the wall. But we didn't. We passed through some kind of projection of the cave siding. Although I don't know how it was done, it was real looking. We passed into a whole new road system. This one was large, and much older than where we came from. We started to smell an odor. Musty, damp, growing stronger as we went deeper on smell. The lighting decreased as well, probably 60% less than the other areas, so we turned on our headlights. We continued on at about 5 to 7 miles an hour for about 5 minutes and we noticed it was getting cooler, which was, to me, very strange. Since once inside a cave a certain distance, the temp says the same. We made a right turn and started to come up on what I thought was a rest area on the side, about 40 feet away. I thought it looked like a pair of fountains until they moved. We both stopped immediately. We were approximately 30 feet away now and what we saw were two creatures. One was very tall, at least 7 feet maybe more, and very powerfully built, reddish in color, and the other was smaller, about 6 feet, but it was not red in color but pale, like an albino, and it was not as powerfully built as the other. They looked like reptiles, living, walking, intelligent beings, not human, not warm-blooded. Reptiles. I know it sounds crazy, but it is true. They said nothing, but I did get a strong sense from the big one. A malevolence, evil presence of some kind. My friend screamed and we turned around a power turn. We started to go back out when my friend said, the big one was after us. I looked back and it was following us. I had the overwhelming feeling that if it caught us that harm would come to us. We passed through the wall projection and I looked back and saw the thing raise its arm and it had a weapon of some sorts. It fired and hit the ATV my friend was on. The engine died and he stopped. I told him to jump on and he did. I gunned it and then my friend said, stop. I slowed down and he said, look. I looked back and the thing had stopped at the graffiti on the cave floor/road. The ATV was on its side of the graffiti/symbol. It was obvious the thing would not cross the marking. I slowed down more. We were now about 75 feet away. I stopped and the three of us, me, my friend and the creature/reptile/man thing, just looked at each other for about 15 seconds. And let me tell you, that is a long time. Then I started to leave. It stayed there waiting and not moving until we were out of sight. As soon as we cleared the cave, I got on my cell phone and called the sheriff's department. I was told that they would not come out and that underground security would handle it. Then they hung up. By law, they are not to do that. We can hang up on anyone, but a government office, be it city or federal, cannot hang up on you. Anyway, I was shocked and scared, and we took off across the outside of the underground over to my truck, and sure enough, underground security was waiting for us. We were told to leave, not to tell anybody about this, that if I come back, the Navy would press charges. I was also told that I had 10 minutes to leave or I would be taken in. What can I say? We left. It has been 3 days since this has happened and I am still shaken. I am a powerful person, 6'4" and 265 pounds, and I have never in my life been afraid for my life. Until this past Sunday. I lost one of my 2 ATVs. As far as I know, it is still down there. My friend will not talk about it, and I have not heard anything from anyone about it. I did call the sheriff's department and they said they never got a call from me. Well, that is my story. I have never had anything strange happen in my life, and I am very, very concerned about this. I can tell you this. I had an urge to kill the things I saw down there. I don't know if that is a natural reaction, as most people have a natural revulsion towards reptiles, or because of my faith and the feeling of evil I had, or what. All I know is that they are real, and I wish I could do something, anything to combat or help against these things.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.